G'day all, I'm back into my telephone cabinet again, and I've actually got this phone to show you today, which is one of the later Telecom Australia phones that, well, Telstra and Telecom Australia used to use. But I've got an even better surprise, which I will show you in a moment. Alright, and the surprise is that I've got the same phone, but I think it's actually an earlier phone. I've not opened this box yet. It's the Telecom touch phone, TF200 telephone, and this is the original box that they used to come in. And as I said, I've never opened this box before, so it'll be quite interesting to see what's inside. Alright, so I've opened the box, and inside this is as the phone would have presented back in the early 90s or the late 80s when this telephone was from. So here we've got the original Telecom Australian plug that you can see with the original logo from back in the day. And if we have a look on here, we'll be able to tell what year it was made. So there we go, EXI 91. Alright, so that's the plug. So I'll take that out, and here we've got, oh that's interesting. Yes, we've got, it looks like we've got a key. So if I just open up this envelope here, that onto there. Oh yeah, there we go. So yes, this is a key, a security key that they used to use to stop your teenage son or daughter from, mainly probably your daughter, from making telephone calls. Because telephone calls were, back in the day, they were very expensive, so that key would actually slot into here. Alright, and we've got the Telecom Touch Phone 200 manual with the original Telecom Australia logo on there, so that'll be quite interesting to have a bit of a look through that as well. So, what have we got? Alright, so we've got your features, connections, last number redial, you've got memory dialing, you've got flash recall facility, tone ringers controls, you've got use on PABX extensions, tone facilities, hearing aid compatibility, color options, that's interesting, wall mounting, additional facilities, call control and maintenance. So yeah, so this is quite fascinating. It's a bit like opening up a time capsule, you know, to see how these looked back in 1991. I mean, in 1991, I was at high school. I was a third former. I was 13, and it's quite amazing to open up something that was around when all those years ago. So yeah, it's just got the general instructions, which is quite good to have all of this. And look at that. You've got the original number cards as well, and that's interesting. They came in funky colours, orange, blue and yellow, and I would say the original white one that everyone used is in the phone still, that's quite nice to have. And yeah, there you go, so that's the manual. And let's open up the phone itself. So we've got the original plastic bag. It's probably, I don't know whether they, oh no, they didn't seal them, that's good. So we'll just take that off. So here you go, the original handset, which is not too bad. It's actually quite a comfortable handset. And the original RJ, oh no, it's not an RJ12, it's actually hardwired into there. And the other end is probably an RJ12, which is usually what they used on handsets, with the RJ11 being in the back there. And it's interesting how the other end of that is hardwired into your jack point or socket. And here is the actual phone itself. So it's still in its original wrapping. Crinkle, crinkle. Excuse me for this bad camera. Alright, so here we go. There's a bit of dust on there, but you know, it's not faded or anything because it's been in this box since 1991. It's actually in really, really good condition. So here you go, you've got the, that you could save. So you would have had, what's that, 2, 4, 5, so 10 numbers there. You've got the original Telstra logo and the buttons, the push buttons, which were, they were quite nice, these buttons. There was an earlier version, I think, that came out, and the buttons had no travel in them, and they got all damaged very quickly. They were basically flat, and you pressed it and you'd end up with sort of a hole where the buttons, but these are actually quite nice to press. So that's really good. And there's a lock which I've not seen that before. That's new to me. I knew that they had them on the old, I think it was the 801s or the 802 telephones here in Australia, but it's quite nice to see that lock. It's really cool. And on the back, we've got the designed and manufactured in Australia, so it's probably one of the last telephones to be designed and made in Australia. And it looks like we've got a manufacturing date. I don't know whether that's the 4th of January 1991 or whether it's Series 41 1991, but it's definitely from 1991. You've got your line cord which goes into here, so your RJ11 and your RJ12 which goes into the handset. And what else have we got here? We've got the ringer pitch, so we could obviously change the pitch there by sliding that. We've got a, what is that? Tone. And yes, so you've got tone and you've got a DiDEC, I think that is, which is your pulses, I believe. So you can flick that between tone and pulse. And I'm not sure what that is. Is that 600 ohms? I don't know what that does. Look, if you can comment, that would be really good. I'd like to know what that actually does. And here we go, the original Telecom logo from the 1980s, 1990s, early 90s. This telephone remains the property of Telecom Australia. So yes, this is before they became Telstra. And you've got some patent numbers and etc. And it's made by Exicom, not Alcatel. So yeah, there you go. That's a sort of an overview of the telephone. And I'm gonna now set it up on my little table, give it a ring, and yeah, see if it actually works. All right, I've set up the TF200 200 onto my little table here, and it actually brought back some memories for me because I worked for my dad. He was a telephone technician, and I would work for him during the school holidays. So at age 13, I was installing very similar phones to these, but in New Zealand. And I've actually put together hundreds and hundreds of these phones in the past. So yeah, when I was putting all these wires in before, it brought back some really good memories. Quite interesting, the line cord is incredibly thin. This is a British one here, which is a lot thicker than this Australian one. The other thing I noticed was it's quite a good receiver cord, but the line cord was incredibly thin, and I've actually had to connect that through my little test kit here and into my X-Link BT, because that's where I get Australian and British cadences. Okay, so there's a ringing sound that I have not heard for many years. This is probably the first time that this telephone has ever rung. But yeah, that is your typical 1980s, early 90s, even up to the 2000s ringtone that you would hear all over Australia, New Zealand and beyond. Right, so now I guess it's time to make the first telephone call out on this phone. So we're going to ring Telstra again. So we'll see if we can get some dial tone. So Telstra is 132200, and we'll just see if that went through. No, it didn't. Well, that call did not go through because I believe it is locked. So we're going to need these to unlock the phone. So this is, I don't want to scratch the thing, but this is the first time I've ever used one of these. Right. Okay, I'm assuming that has unlocked the phone now for dialing. Alright, so we're going to ring out this time, and hopefully it works this time. So hopefully we can hear some dial tone. So we're going to ring Telstra. So that'll be the first phone call that we've ever done on this telephone, the TF200 200. And yes, it did need the keys to operate it, so that was quite interesting. Alright, well thank you for watching my unboxing of the TF200 telephone from Telstra Australia, or Telecom Australia as it was in 1991. Like and subscribe because there will be some more interesting telephones coming up. I think next week or next time I make a video, it will be a 802 dial telephone with bells, etc. So that'll be quite interesting.